everyone, welcome to my channel. Welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be an eyeshadow palette video, and I'm going to be using the Gourmande Girls Silent Night palette. This was a collaboration with Doodles by the Bunny, and this was their 2023 Christmas palette, but it's still available on their website and I'm just getting it now. So I still wanted to play around, test out this palette. This is a new to me brand. I have never tried Gourmande Girls, so I'm excited to see their formula, excited to see just what this palette can do. So if you like eyeshadow videos, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't yet, but I'm going to be doing 3 looks with this palette. So I'm going to zoom you in and we're going to get started with look number 1. All right, so I've had Gourmande Girls on my list of indie brands to try for a while now, and for some reason the Haunted or the Spooked palette, I think it was called, didn't really call to me like the Silent Night palette. I just really was drawn to the blues and the golds. I think this is a very appropriately themed Christmas palette. I'm gonna throw up some swatches of this palette now. It is still available on the Gourmande Girls website. It retails for $55 US. However, there are tons of affiliate codes. I think I paid $41 before shipping. So $40 I think is a little bit of a better price point than $55 because there are 14 shades in this palette and you get 9 mattes, 4 duochromes. There are no multi-chromes, and it is matte heavy. So if you're someone who likes a shimmer heavy palette, this may not be the palette for you. And you know, I haven't seen a ton of videos on this palette. I have tried to just avoid it so I can get my own opinions, but you know, I've seen some comparisons of these 2 navy blues looking very similar and like these 2 shimmers, which is half the palette, looking very similar. However, I will say in my swatch, this shimmer just has a little bit more of a translucent base and this one has a lot more glow to it. These 2 mattes though, I would say are probably the most redundant in the palette. This is definitely more of like a true navy. It has more pigment and this has like a little hint of green in it, but I wouldn't say you needed both. I'm a little nervous to work with this palette because it did stain my fingers quite a bit when doing swatches, but we're just gonna get started anyways. I'm gonna do 1 look on each eye and then I'll do a 3rd look, and I kind of just want to challenge myself and see if I can do maybe not like very quote Christmassy looks. Since Christmas is now over, I'm a little bit behind, but I wanted to ship this to Arizona. If you didn't know, I live in France, and it's just a lot cheaper, quite honestly, because if I ship it to France where I live, I'd have to pay customs fees, and my mom was already going to the States. She just got back a couple days ago, so I sent it to her and she brought it back. It was worth saving like the $30 to just wait a couple of weeks. And now we're gonna play with this very Christmassy palette. I think I want to do a look focused a lot on the yellows. That might be my 3rd look since it'll go with my sweater. And the 1st look, I might play with the blues a little, and then I definitely want to play with this peach shade and do more of like a neutral eye with the piece. So I think maybe we'll start with the neutral eye. Look number 2 will be the blues. I'll take both of those off and then we'll do the yellows. But enough just talking, let's just get started. Now the first shade I'm gonna take is the shade Twinkle. It's kind of like a plummy brown, and I'm going to use that to just outline my crease here. I do have my Nars Soft Matte Concealer as primer, but I have that set with powder, and everything that I'm wearing is always listed in the description box below. So I'm just gonna kind of map this out. Doesn't have to be very precise because afterwards I'm then gonna take a tiny bit more of a fluffier brush, not too fluffy, and go into Heavenly, which is the lightest matte brown in the palette. And I'm going to blend out the edges. I blended out the edges with that Heavenly shade, and then I also just took Twinkle and Heavenly and did my lower lash line. I'm gonna add very, very small definition to the outer corner. I don't know if you saw my video I did with the Cosmic Brushes Winter Wonderland palette. I'll also link that down below, but they just turned out, the looks turned out a lot darker than I wanted. So I don't want that to happen with this palette. So I'm going to kind of really just tap it in the outer corner and just apply a little bit. And these shades, based on their swatches, are very heavily pigmented. I'm sure this is a pressed pigment shadow. I can't read it without my glasses, but I'm sure it is just based on swatches. But that's about all the definition. I'm just gonna take whatever's left on this brush here and just do a teeny tiny bit in the outer corner to connect it. I think that's good. So now to go in with my NYX glitter primer. I'm gonna apply just a little bit of that so I don't get any fallout with the shimmer shade. And I'm trying to decide what I want to use for the inner corner, because you have the matte white and then you have that like white iridescent duochrome. Not sure yet. Okay, so I'm going to go in with Peace, and it has like a silvery, it's less silvery than I thought. It definitely has like a taupe purple undertone to it. And I'm going to lightly tap first, and then because this is like the star of the show, let's see, I'm gonna take like a brush, just like a flat shader, to really just define and go into these kinds of nooks and crannies of my eyelid. I'm really liking how this is looking, so I think I'm gonna skip an inner corner, which is very unlike me, and I'm gonna go into Savior and just line my top lash line. It's like the deepest brown. There's a very dark brown, and then there's a matte black as well. I think that's it for look number one. I wanted to keep it very, very simple, just see if I could do something a little bit more every day that wasn't just in your face Christmas. I think I achieved that, and I could see myself wearing this all the time. This Peace shade is definitely probably my favorite shimmer in the palette, but it's not necessarily a unique shade, so I don't know if it's worth picking up the whole palette just for this shade. But now let's go on to look number two, and I think we're gonna play with the blues a little bit. First thing I'm gonna do is take Silent Night. That is the sheerer of the two navies, and I'm going to put that in my crease. I'm gonna try and be as careful as possible, and I'm putting it a little bit lower than my crease just so it doesn't go up too high. This is definitely the look I'm the most nervous about, just because these are really dark shades. However, I'm hoping that the blue shimmers will kind of offset that. Maybe if I take like a bigger fluffy brush, I can kind of just diffuse it a little bit more. It is shearing out, so I am going to just keep going in with the first brush, adding on more pigment, and then I'm going to take my fluffier brush and really work on blending that out until I have the depth that I want with that Silent Night shade. And I'm liking the color I'm getting so far, but I kind of went in too far here. So I'm gonna take a mix between Snowy, which is the matte white, and a tiny bit of Heavenly, and just see if I can almost get rid of this. If not, I'll get a makeup wipe and just kind of erase that from the inner corner there. But first, let's see if I can just kind of blend out the edges here. Make it not so blown out, I guess. This was really the best I could get it. It's not completely erased right here, but it's better, and I'm gonna wash it off soon anyways, so that's just something you need to be aware of. Like, the pigment does spread quite a bit. So now I'm gonna really play with fire and go into Child, see if I can deepen up this outer corner and do it as well as I did with look number 1. Not too bad. Okay, we're gonna let that stay there before it gets too out of hand. For the lower lash line, I'm gonna go back into Silent Night and see how close I can get that to my lash line. I might not go in all the way, just maybe like half. And then I'm gonna blend that out with Snowy, which is the matte white. Glitter primer before going in with those blue shimmers. I'm gonna use both, just so I can say I tested all the shimmers. And let's see, so Festive and Starry. One has more of a blue. They look very similar, don't they? This is Festive and this is Starry. I think, let me re-swatch them on the back of my hand. This is Festive, this is Starry. I think I'm gonna put Festive on the inner corner and Starry on the outer corner. I mean, they are very similar, but let's just try that for the sake of trying it. And maybe with this NYX glitter primer, it'll kind of make it a little bit more opaque and you'll see the shift more. So this is Starry, and I'm gonna go all the way out in the corner. And then Festive. Can you see a difference? Not really, huh? And we're gonna take Frosty and go into the inner corner. And I think gonna take it just right here in the front, since I only did the lower lash line, the blue, kind of halfway, just so we have some sparkle on the lower lash line as well. And of course, I'm gonna go in with the matte black, which is Shush. I'm gonna use that to just line my upper lash line. I'm more just adding definition. I don't really want it to show too much. So I tight lined with my black liner, added mascara, and also a lip. I've been really liking this Viseart Moisture Shine that I pulled in to shop my stash. This is in the shade Fleur, but you know, I didn't get any fallout with the shimmers, so that's really nice. I did use a glitter glue, but I did get a little bit of fallout with the black here, and it was really hard to smudge away. I just might have loaded up my brush a little too much. But here is look number 1, the kind of just neutral, everyday look. And then look number 2, the very blue look. And right now, like, I'm just a little disappointed at how much the blues look on the eyes, like how similar they look. In the swatches, I could tell a difference, but on the eyes, like, you really can't tell. And if I was to just use one blue shimmer, that would be fine, but I would use both of them in the exact same ways. So I do think that's a little redundant. I don't know. You'll have to let me know what you think about the blue situation and how you feel about it, but that is a little disappointing. I would have rather, honestly, even a smaller palette and just eliminated those 2 shades, like not even sub them out for something else. But now that I've done the first two looks, I'm gonna go take this off and we're gonna start look number 3. Like I said, for look number 3, I want to play with the yellows here. So I'm gonna be using Mother, we'll use Bright for the shimmer, this gold. I think I'm gonna use the matte white snow as an inner corner just to switch it up. And then, I mean, we'll use some of these neutrally shades in the crease. So let's start with Mother and shape out our crease. Let's do that. I did reuse my Nars Soft Matte Concealer and I powdered that down. And I surprisingly did not have as much staining as I thought I was gonna have with those blues. So that was nice, but granted, I did not wear it for the entire day. And I do get a little bit of the feeling that if you did, or if you're prone to staining, I really never had that problem, then you might get some staining specifically with the blues. I'm gonna take Heavenly, the lightest brown, and just blend that out. Not too much of it, because I really do want this to be a monochromatic yellow. Just maybe not too much of a mustard yellow. Plus we're gonna have that gold shade that's really gonna brighten this up. I'm liking this yellow in the crease more than I thought I would. I don't know why. I like yellow on me, but on my eyes, it just seems like the ultimate warm tone. So it does like intimidate me a little bit. And I know everyone loves those like mustardy baby poop shades, but I don't know. They've always just made me a little nervous. I'm gonna take All Is Calm, deepen up the outer corner. Mostly, I'm hoping that it'll add some dimension to the gold shimmer when I lay it down. So again, like I don't want to go overboard like I have in the past, and really just tap this on the outer corner. And I also don't want to take away from the yellow that we have going on. So just a teeny tiny bit. Do this eye. Going back in with Mother, I think I just want to lightly, I mean, I'm barely putting any pressure, just kind of sweep it over, add a little bit more yellow. This might just get covered up with the shimmer, so this might just be an unnecessary step. And then I'm gonna follow the same order that I did for the lower lash line. So Mother on the lower lash line all the way, blend it out with Heavenly, and then add a little bit of All Is Calm on just like the outer third. Now that the lower lash line's done, it's gonna be time for the glitter shimmer. I didn't see too much of a duochrome flip with this gold shade, so that'll be interesting to see. Just gonna apply my glitter glue first. And yeah, I'm not really seeing any kind of flip. Still a pretty shade. A little bit more of a yellow gold than maybe I like. I would have liked it maybe more of like a bronzy gold. So because of that, I'm not gonna put it completely all over and keep some of that depth in the outer corner. And I might just go back in and re-intensify it even. Yeah, not my favorite tone of gold, but for a Christmas palette, like I understand how this fits. Like I said, just going back in with that brown, kind of blending the two together. I don't hate it. I definitely do not have any kind of gold like this in my collection because it's just not, it's not the undertone that I go for. And I think that's what's holding me back from loving this look. But I do like just the mix of colors. It's pretty neutral, but still, it still pops. Do I want to do liner? Yes, I do. So I'm gonna take Savior, the like really, really dark brown. I'm gonna line just my lash line, add some mascara, and then I'll be back to show you the final looks. So here's the final look. Look number 3. I do really like this, just if you're sensing the hesitation in my voice, I'm just not used to seeing this kind of color on me. So it's taking me a minute to get used to it a little bit, but I don't dislike it. I think I just need to look at myself more and get used to seeing this kind of color on my eye, because I typically go for more of like an antique gold, like a green undertone, a bronzy undertone. This is very much a yellow undertone gold, but I am going to kind of just sit on my thoughts for a minute and we're gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna talk about my final first impression thoughts on this palette and if I think it's worth it. All right, I'm gonna try and keep this short, sweet, concise. And you know, I try to, when I think about whether I want to recommend something, I try not to have it just be my personal opinion. I really try to take other factors because everyone's different. Everyone likes different things. There's too many things that I just don't like about this more than I love about this. So I can't, like, in good faith, like personally, I would not recommend this to my best friend. For an indie palette, like, one, I don't think it's beginner friendly. I think you have to be pretty good with blending to use it. I'm not the best, and it took me quite a long time, especially with the blues, to blend it out. And while I did, I don't feel like I did like a perfect job. And yes, I need to use this palette more, obviously, but I think that it's not easy to use, one. I think two, it's a little bit redundant with these blues here, with the navies here. Even like, I don't know if we needed a super dark, almost black brown and then a black. So I'm just seeing like a lot of overlap. It is matte heavy versus shimmer heavy. I prefer at least a 50-50 split, especially if like the mattes you're getting are, you know, just different tones of brown. So that's kind of what's holding me back. Plus the price point, like there's no multi-chromes in this palette. Like for an indie brand, I would have expected at least one multi-chrome. Like if one of these blues had more shifts to it, like maybe that would have been a little bit more worth it to me. But $55 with no discount, I can't, like, in good faith recommend this to any other person, I don't think. Which is never fun to say because I never want to talk bad about a brand, and I don't think this is bad. I think that Gourmande Girls just maybe has like some improvements they could make. I think what would have made this palette better is maybe a 10 pan about the size of the What's Up Beauty palettes. I think that would have been a smarter choice. Get rid of a blue, get rid of a navy, and two other shades. Get rid of, you know, one of these browns, maybe this brown, and then get rid of the dark brown and keep the black. That would have been more of a concise color story, but still getting the Silent Night theme across, maybe. And then because you're making it a 10 pan, bumping down the price just a little bit. Even the price I paid, I think it was $41.99 plus shipping. You know, I would be happy paying like $35 for this palette, which is only a $5 difference. I get that, but like, I think that this palette's worth around $45. So I am like a little bit disappointed. I'm glad that I got to try Gourmande Girls. You know, I hear a lot of people talking about them, so maybe it's just this palette. I would love to know, like, if you love Gourmande Girls, if you have multiples of their palettes, like how this one compares to the Spooked or the Haunted palette, because those are purples. I love purples. Purples are hard to make, so I do wonder how that matte formula compares to other matte formulas, because, you know, there's a lot of indie brands out there now, and there's just ones I think in the future, based on trying this one today, I would prioritize over buying something else from Gourmande Girls. But I would love to know your opinions. Of course, I'm going to try this out more, include it in a palette ranking. I really just did some simple monochromatic looks with this. I didn't like mix any cool colors, like mix the blue and the gold together. I'll definitely be doing that to just try this palette out a few more times before including it in my ranking. It's a pretty palette. I still love the color story of this. I think it's so on theme. I love it for a Christmas palette. I do think that you can at least use this year round. It's not like the Cosmic Brushes Winter Wonderland palette where I was talking about I'm only going to remember that seasonally and pull it out in wintertime. I could see myself pulling this out at different times of the year and not just Christmas time as a Christmas palette, which is what I want in a palette realistically. Like, it's okay to have some very seasonally appropriate palettes, but I could see this being great in fall as well as winter, doing some really Christmassy looks, etc. And it has great staple mattes in it. So I'm not overall like upset about my purchase, just I've been trying better palettes than this as of recent. So those are my thoughts. But let me know down below which was your favorite look. What kind of gold do you like? Because I'm still just like on the fence with this gold. Do you lean towards this kind of gold more, or are you more like me? Or are there just colors that take you a minute to just kind of feel good in? Because I mean, this goes with my sweater like perfectly, and I love this sweater. I love this color on me, but I don't know. I think I still like look number one, which is the most boring look. But I'd love to hear your thoughts down below, what you think of this brand if you tried it. But this is where I'm going to leave you all. I hope you're having a great one, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.